Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. OUTKAST is the name. Let's do this. So guys, in today's video I'm going to be breaking down the top 5 warframes I believe every new player should aim for. I am using the primes. If you want to buy them, do so. If not, the standard variants work just as good. So up in 5th place is Wukong. He is incredible for a new player. His kit, his ability 1 is Celestial Twin. That gives you a second format of your build. It will have increased health and it will use whichever weapon you aren't using, be that primary or melee. If you're using secondary and then switch to melee, it will also use your secondary. His second ability, Cloud Walker, you are invulnerable and will heal you and your twin. His third is Defy, again invulnerable, and any damage taken will be output to a certain percentage based off damage strength. And his fourth is a pseudo melee, which is basically a giant bamboo cane that you can pound enemies with. It's fairly explanatory. You can see in the footage behind you, he's a great frame to use. Try him out and stick around for the rest of this list. In at number 4 is Vault. Now Vault is an incredible warframe both for new players and for the top tier players. However, I'm going to be focusing on his bonuses for the newer player. His first ability, Jolt, is essentially just a damage. It will target a single enemy that you aim at and electrocute them. Pretty simple. His second is his key for new players in my opinion, and it will essentially give you a speed buff. It will also give your teammates a speed buff, and in Plains of Eidolon it will also give the drone a speed buff. So if you're struggling to do the bounties, take yourself a Vault and speed them up. His third is his shield. Now this is where he is more useful if you're later on in the game and you're hunting Eidolons, as you get a damage buff while shooting through the shield. However, in standard missions, if you're running defenses or survivals, this is still good as it lowers the amount of damage you take and increases the amount of damage you output. However, it is a separate instance of damage, so it won't mix with toxin and it won't mix with fire and heat, but it will do a separate instance of electric damage. His fourth is a CC ability. Based off your damage strength and efficiency, it will stumble and stop and electrocute and do damage to all enemies in a certain radius. Next, let's move on to number 3. Coming up in 3rd place is none other than Rhino. Rhino Prime looks gorgeous with the skin I've got on, but that's irrelevant. Whether you're using standard or prime, Rhino is by far one of the best new player friendly warframes. His kit involves a damage output where you will charge at the enemies, causing them to be knocked over and damaged. His second is his bread and butter, his iron skin. This will scale based off damage being taken at the time and can reach some insane numbers, and just you can't die. It's overguard, it's invulnerable to status effect, and it is incredible for a new player. Raw gives you a damage buff. It is one of the best helmet abilities on the game in my opinion. And his fourth is a ground stomp, where he will levitate enemies in the air. Obviously if they're not on the ground shooting, that's less damage to you, more time to kill, and in general he is a great tank frame. If you're struggling for survivability, he's definitely one for you. Let's move on to the top two. So, taking the second spot on my list of top 5 new player friendly warframes is Zephyr. Now, Zephyr's kit is incredible for crowd control, damage and survivability. Starting with its first ability, Tailwind. From the ground, you will charge and dash through the air, causing slash damage to anyone you hit. If you direct this down and aim at the ground, you will do impact damage much higher, as it's like a dive bomb. Second ability is Air Burst. You will launch a burst of dense air that holds enemies and pulls them in. The third ability is Turbulence, which essentially creates a windshield around Zephyr, causing projectiles to miss you, bounce, do all kinds of good stuff except damage you. And its fourth, the bread and butter why this is number 2 in this list, is its tornadoes. Now you will create 3 tornadoes that engulf enemies and pull them away from any area, be that you or a defense target. They will also do extra damage if you shoot the enemies consumed by the tornadoes, and the tornadoes will take on the damage of your weapon. Onto the top spot. Finally, taking the top spot for number 1 on my list of new player friendly warframes is none other than Titania. Her kit, Spellbind, is her first ability. Enemies drop their weapons and tumble into the air. Also, nearby allies become immune to status effects based off duration and range. Second ability, Tribute, cycle through and have one of 4 buffs. Thorns reduces damage, Dust degrades enemy accuracy, Full Moon increases companion damage, Entangle slows enemies within range, again based on strength, duration and range. Lantern creates a swarm of razor flies around an enemy, while other enemies will then converge on that enemy, and finally it will explode, doing innate heat damage. And finally, the reason it's number 1, Razor Wing. You shrink down, become a razor fly, while other razor flies attack all the nearby enemies, and you are free to use her Dex Pixias to do insane amounts of damage. Titania can be used for Steel Path, Eidolons, anything you want. She is by far my number 1 frame for a new player. This has been my list. All the footage was on Steel Path, so you can guarantee they'll all work for you no matter what you're doing. Hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one. Peace.